Pat Moran. Pat, do you like Patrick or Pat?
Pat's fine.
Pat Moran,
Thanks, Paul.
welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to our conversation today.
It's great to see you again and great to catch up. It's been a few years, but you're one of those people I do remember. I don't know how we crossed paths there, but I do actually remember you from school. And it's great to
maybe you were in the area with me a bunch.
Where are you at in the world now?
So I live in St. Paul, Minnesota, right on the Mississippi River. For those of classmates that might know the area, yep. Mississippi here in Minneapolis, St. Paul splits right down the middle of the two cities, more or less, and I'm on the St. Paul side. So Minnesota, still have kids at home, haven't bought a house down south yet, but TBD on that in the future.
Right, right. And talk about, you say you got kids at home. Talk a little about that just in terms of the family situation you've got.
Yeah, so my youngest is 14. He's a freshman in high school. Goes to a school called St. Thomas Academy, which is a Catholic kind of military boys' school. And I suspect there's someone from our class who would have gone there. They seem to send, at a class of 100 to 120 every year, they seem to send like 5 to 8 kids to academies every year. So yeah. heavy kind of, and then also ROTC. So a lot of feed into the military academies.
Yeah, it's a culture. I imagine that they talk about it more than a regular school. What was the?
Yeah, they have like one of their classes is military science. So they have formations. Yeah. They wear uniforms. They do rifle training. They do a little bit of parade. A whole host of those things. My other boys went to a different private school, so a lot of this is somewhat new to me. But and their website is cadets.com. So
look at that. They were ahead of on the internet game.
Yeah, they're basically their uniform right now this time of year is a white shirt, West Point gray trousers, and a tie. So they have to wear ties. We didn't have to wear ties, did we?
No. They tuck them in like, remember the old 1930s, the officers had to tuck them into their shirts. How did the interest in that come about? Was that a natural thing, or was that's a unique choice for him to go there?
Our older boys went more or less the whole way through one private school. This kid, Declan, started in a Chinese immersion school. Wow. And then he did that for 3 or 4 years, and then then COVID hit, and it was like 20 minutes a day on Zoom, and so obviously my wife and I don't speak Chinese, so we weren't much help, and it just wasn't working for him. So then we moved him to another Catholic school, and then to this school when he became age that they accepted.
Does he enjoy the structure, or is it something he'll probably not be interested in the future?
No, well, I think he enjoys the structure. He could still use more of it. He's got a cousin who's a grade ahead of him, so it helps having a family member there.
Yeah.
And he seems to like a lot of military things, although he hasn't shown a ton of interest in like trying to go to the academy or anything. So, but who knows? He's a freshman. Yeah. He went to his first Army-Navy game this last year. So we'll see how he does moving forward.
Who knows, right? He's got a few years yet. And what took you to St. Paul?
Say again?
What took you to St. Paul, the city?
Yeah, so my wife is originally from here. Okay. And we were in Cincinnati, right, now it's been 13 years before this. My wife's from a big family and wanted to move back here before the older boys, got too old to pull out of the schools they were in Cincinnati.
Right.
And it's, I don't love the weather here, but there are some positive aspects to Minnesota and negative ones. But having family is super helpful. Yeah. My wife's youngest is 6. 4 of the 6 are here in town, and we have a lot of family activities. We have a family cabin, etc. that we all kind of partake in.
Yeah, and that makes a big difference. A big difference. And what you've had I had a chance to look at your LinkedIn. You've had a long and successful career in finance or finance adjacent activities. But you were also in the finance forum at school. So don't listen up, kids. If you're out there, the finance forum at school seems to be a gateway to greater stuff. So what got you interested in finance?
When I was a cadet, I was an econ major.
You were, okay.
And I don't know what your exposure was to the econ department, but I think the econ department, at least at the time, was fantastic. We had...
Well, for me, it was brief and bruising.
Well, there were a couple just like superstar professors at West Point when we were there. Bob Baldwin, who was a first captain, PhD from MIT in economics. The one I spent the most time with was Barry Scribner, who another PhD guy from Harvard. I stayed in touch with Barry actually until he died just a few years ago, unfortunately, from cancer. Mark Kimmett, who maybe you've seen on the news from time to time, who's a retired, 1-star. Anyway, long story short, I got really interested in finance and economics, and at least when I left, when we graduated, my plan was to come back and teach. So, I had that in the back of my mind, and then ultimately I went to business school, right after I got out of the Army. And instead of going back to teach or something like that, I kind of got into financial services businesses.
You went to the Stanford Graduate School of Business, which is not just any graduate school. I'll talk you up a little bit if you want to be.
Yeah. Well, they obviously lowered their standards that year because there were like 7 of us West Pointers in my class. Most notably Gene Baker from our class, who, before school started, we had like a welcome party, and I run into Gene, and he and I kind of paralleled each other in some ways. He was an engineer officer. He went to Germany. He and I played on the racquetball team together, so we had known each other more or less all 4 years at West Point.
Okay.
And then we're still obviously friends today. And he's out in, I think he's mostly in California now. But
yeah, he is. I saw him at Mark Esper's ceremony up there. We ate in the mess hall together, and I caught up with Gene. He's
a good guy. Good guy.
Yeah, he's out in the Bay Area.
And he has he had a daughter that graduated, I don't know, it was 1 year ago or 2 years ago.
Yeah, just a year ago. Yeah, he did.
And
I met her briefly, in the mess hall. Yeah.
Yeah, she walked more hours than he and I did, so that was impressive.
I heard about that. So you're from Indianapolis, Indiana, originally?
Yeah, I was born in Chicago, but we moved to Indiana when I was 6. I don't know. There was actually a kid from Indianapolis who was a Beast Barracks roommate of mine, but then he quit like before the academic year started. So I don't know many people from Indianapolis. Good friends with Larry Oliver, who's from Indiana, but up north towards Chicago.
Rob Rogeman came from Indiana, as I recall, and John Reinbold. So yeah, a few
people.
And which part of Indianapolis? I just because my son lived in Bloomington for many years, so it's near and dear to my heart. But so were you up there in the north, or which part of Indianapolis
Yeah,
was home for
northeast
you?
side.
Northeast, yeah, yeah.
A lot of the growth in Indy now is all northeast up towards Noblesville and in that area. Not a bad place to grow up.
Yeah.
Average schools, not super good, super bad, or anything like that.
And what was interesting to you growing up? Were you an academics focused guy, or a lot of sports, or where did you spend your time?
I would say sports more than anything. I don't know that I studied much in high school, but played football, wrestled some.
Okay.
Really got into running, but not till my senior year in high school did I really start running a lot.
Sure.
And then throughout most of my life, running and golf are basically my side hustles or passions. So
they call it a life sport. They actually teach it at the academy now. They get you in there and say, "This is your life sport." It's like the thing that's gonna, if it's golf or something, right? So
yeah,
so
golf
you were ahead of it.
Running's a little tough. I've had both knees replaced the last couple of years, and I'm starting to run a little bit again. I'm really slow, but at least I can move.
You can get the endorphins going and get it going. Good for you.
Yeah.
But the golf always, always someone to go out and join you on the golf course. If I read the interest survey of the classmates, there's always somebody to go golfing with.
Yep. Yeah, that's funny. And I haven't done this before, but this year I bought a foursome for the Johnny Mac.
Okay, there you go.
So I don't know if you ever go to that.
Not the golf events, but I've been to the Johnny Mac events. Yeah, that's great. Good for you. Well, now what Indianapolis? A lot of sports. What was it about West Point that caught your eye? How did that come into your frame?
I had a neighbor who was an Army officer who got me interested. I was the youngest of three kids. My parents didn't have a lot of money, so probably like many classmates, it was a way to get an education and not have to borrow tons of money. Although back then, I suspect on a relative basis, education was a lot cheaper, but we still didn't have money to go to for sure not a private school. Could have gone to like Purdue or Indiana, but I didn't know a ton about it, like many others, I suspect, and showed up there and I think I was more I was more scared of quitting than I was of staying. So,
that's a great way to think of it, right? The impact of quitting was more frightening. I was probably in a similar camp. So, how did you get there? Coming from Indiana, I mean, some places they had busloads of folks, and how did you actually get to the academy on our day?
Yeah, and I was thinking about this recently because it's a whole different thing now, but.
Right.
My parents put me on a plane to New York. I think we stayed one night in New York City, and then there was a whole thing that bussed us up there, and then I don't remember the next time I saw my parents. It was probably Thanksgiving or something.
Yeah.
It was just.
I got on a plane, and then Plebe Parent Week was the next time. Now they go up there and they have tailgates, the whole bit.
Yeah, well, right. I mean, first of all, it's probably on a relative basis, it's cheaper to travel than it was back when we did.
Yeah. Right.
And maybe I don't know but I saw my parents maybe twice. When I graduated, and maybe once or twice prior to graduation there.
Yes.
So, not a ton. You probably know Larry Oliver. Larry had, 5 of his 7 kids went to Annapolis, so he bought an extra house there.
Right.
And, and spent tons of times with his kids, which is just a wonderful opportunity.
There's an interesting exchange in Highland Falls by the Naval Academy where parents do that and they kind of sell on to each other. And there's like a little gray network of, people who sell the houses on. They never put them up for sale, but you find out about them. So I've heard about this. I've never participated in it. So yeah, very different culture back then. I remember, and it's a common story. So fresh to it, not like the military high school. Fresh to it. How did our day and the first days hit you?
I mean, I can't even remember, Paul.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think we ate a ton, right? I was I was like 135 pounds. So
Yeah.
I didn't lose a lot of weight. But obviously I didn't gain any either. And, it's funny now looking back on it, I was 17 when I started. I guess I turned 18 in September of our plebe year. And I never realized people were different ages.
Which, is that right? Yeah.
I think even a year could make a difference in, your physical preparedness or academic, etc. And, a lot of us were, 17 and going in there, and some people were 20. You know, I've got a friend here whose son is a Green Beret now, a major, but he played junior hockey before he went to West Point. So he was like 20 years old or 21 before he even went to West Point. I guess 21 is probably about the oldest you could be, right? But
22 by our day. But right, it's basically you could have a year or two of experience, and those classmates of ours who've had that experience say it really helped. I didn't have it. The first time I've been away from home, as it sounds like the same for you, right?
Yeah. I think we were, we're lucky to make it through. We were immature, and it just takes time to kind of grow up.
So you were an A3 as a plebe. How'd that company treat you?
Good. Yeah. My roommate was Dean Dorman, first semester. Shout out to Dean. I was texting with him the other day about something, and wonderful guy. He had his girlfriend, just off post, so he was always doing crazy shit. But he was also super smart, and that helped me. I remember us, commiserating over whatever calculus we were in, and having a good roommate, a little crazy, probably helped me.
For sure. What and he was your very first roommate, Dean Dorman.
Yep.
Man, that's a rocket. You got on a rocket sled right off the bat. He's a legend.
And there was actually, some yearlings right next to us.
Yeah.
And one of those yearlings, Dave Tompkins, then was in my Stanford class.
Oh, no kidding.
So, ran into, again, somebody I hadn't seen, obviously, for years. And shows up at Stanford with me, which he thought he could still haze me, I think. But I tried to push back on that.
Yeah. No, you don't do that at Stanford. Very different. Very different. And so you fell right in on economics. Was there one inspiration, or was just a general interest the whole time? Or
I think it was. If there was a single person, it was Barry Scribner. Okay, and anybody who had Barry Scribner in our class, I suspect enjoyed economics, whether they did it as a major or not. Is beside the point. But he just made it interesting. And was just a fantastic teacher. And then my unofficial sponsor, faculty was Colonel Costa, who ran the department of the language department. And he was another person who had a really, I think, positive influence on me. Ulrich Breckbuhl, I think, also, spent a lot of time with the Costas, a number of other cadets. And, I learned a lot from him. He had a lot of good kind of calming, sage advice for us when we were cadets.
That's great.
Do you remember him at all?
I do remember him. Yeah, I didn't have the interaction that you and Ulrich did, but I do remember.
Yeah, and I think the comm was his brother-in-law.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go.
So,
there you go. Well, that's great. So you had a couple of officers who influenced some of your thinking, and then you then you went over to 2nd Regiment as an upperclassman. Right?
No, C1.
C1. I'm sorry. Okay,
So,
great.
Yeah, which was is still was a great group of people.
That is a great group. That is.
Hokanson,
Jake Brown, RD, all those.
Yep. We're all getting together for a dinner. But like Wednesday of the reunion week, I think.
That's great.
So RD. He's still the same. If you've talked to him, his energy level has not decreased one bit since he was a cadet. The rest of us are slowing down, but RD's like he's 100 miles an hour all the time. So
yeah, Jake Brown was in my company, good friend, and you had a great group over there. So C1, so that you landed in a good place there. So you had a nice path. I mean, from A3 C1. Studying economics, then engineering. Was there ever a thought that you do something different in terms of your branch, or was engineers it?
I don't know. I mean, it seemed like the cool thing to do at the time. I
kind of was, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they sold it as a mix between, some having to have a brain and still, be a forward unit. So there were a lot of us, bunch of us in C1 went engineers too. Jerry O'Connor, Steve Steffes, Corsi. There's probably 5 or 6 of us. So, it was, it wasn't as cool as Cav, I guess, with, Larry went, but Larry Oliver, but it sounded good. And, that's what I did. What were you?
It had a certain cachet in terms of the more academically proficient people were welcomed in the engineers. I'm trying to put it as nicely as I can.
Yeah, I'm not sure that was required though. Once you get
in there,
once you got out in the field,
and it was dead cord and the motor pool. But anyway,
yeah, exactly. Motor pool's same. And if you had good NCOs, they were doing the hard stuff anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Right? So what was? How did you handle upper class years? So we all had our way we went about it. You could join a club, and some people would join the Glee club. And what was your way to handle it? Did you?
Well, I did. I did racquetball team. Which was nice because we got to travel. Around.
And was that a club squad where you got out of drill?
Squad, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Got it. Yeah.
And then I did some marathon club.
Okay.
For maybe when I was a junior, a cow.
Yeah.
And then SCUSA. I did SCUSA a couple years. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And then as the first year, I mostly just walked the area.
What was the source of your malfeasance?
It was SCUSA, which
that SCUSA was a gateway to harder stuff, I guess.
Yeah, I got a large slug. Well, so I got a whatever was called class 1, was it?
Yeah.
For gross lack of judgment.
Yeah.
Escorting civilian female in the company day room, something like that. And
that's a respectable class 1 slug.
It was. Well, what happened was that some cow in our company, when I was a firstie, some other guys found out something he did, and he got slammed. And then he snitched on me to our TAC.
Yeah.
And so the TAC called me in and asked me if it was true. And, I told obviously yes. And he put it in as a class 2, and then our regimental tac, and I can't remember his name, but I think he was well-known asshole. Made it a class 1.
Class 1. Gave you the upgrade.
Gave you the upgrade.
Due to your loyalty, you get the upgrade.
Yeah. And then I had a couple other little ones. Like I got one for writing a letter in class. Like,
that's
that was like 20 hours too. It was like,
oh my goodness.
It was not a look. So anyway,
that's the P just having a bad day, wanting to lash out. You know what I mean?
And it was a guy who liked me. It was a class I got in. It was one of my econ classes, I think. Long story short, all that probably helped my grades when I was a firstie. And you never know, maybe I wouldn't have gotten into Stanford if I hadn't got a class 1 slug.
Look at that. So bringing a girl to the day room leads to better things.
Who knows? Yeah.
Like you're full of great wisdom.
You gotta see the bright side of things, I suppose. Absolutely. Right?
Oh boy, maybe I should have gotten a little more trouble. The old grades might have gotten some benefit from it. That's so. But you had that's like most of the first year spent out there in the air. That's where you get room con mostly, right? Or did they have you busted down a private out on the area?
No, I was on the area.
Most for the old class 1, huh?
Yeah. But that was only 5 hours a weekend. So the rest of the time you're in your room.
Yeah, right.
Wasn't it like you could do like 2 on Friday and 3 or 3 on Saturday, something like that.
So how was SCUSA related to the girl in the day room, or is there?
She was in my SCUSA group.
The SCUSA group.
So, and a funny side story there. So we were going to the mess hall with all the SCUSA people, and there was a girl on my table named Murray, and Murray's camera wasn't working, and I looked at it and I didn't know how to fix it, but Larry Oliver was nearby, and Larry, is so smart he could fix anything. Yeah. So he fixed her camera, and then he married her and had 7 kids. So
there you go.
That was SCUSA. Well,
that SCUSA really works out.
Yeah, it did. So if you ever, I hope you do this with Larry sometime. Get him to do this because he'll
have to at this rate.
He's an amazing person.
Absolutely. So after graduation, off to Korea.
Yeah, so I chose Bragg out of school,
yeah.
And Kevin Leck was in my engineer officer basic course. Kevin met some girl on the East Coast, and I met a girl at the basic course who had gone to MIT and was going to be an Air Force officer. She was going to be in California. And Kevin and I swapped assignments. So I took his Korea assignment. Yeah. He took my Bragg assignment. Korea was a 1-year tour in theory. So, they said, you go to Korea, you usually get your, close to your first choice when you come back.
Yeah, that was the idea.
So I thought I'll go to Korea, I'll come back to California, and, of course, she wrote me every day, but we broke up when I came home to visit after about 6 months in Korea. So, I ended up staying, and I was platoon leader for, I guess, about 8 months, and a new commander asked me to be his XO, but he said, you got to stay another year. So, I stayed another year, and then the Army offered me Turkey or Fort Leonard Wood. And I said, I really don't want that. I didn't want either, right?
How about that for a decision tree? Turkey or Fort Leonard Wood?
Well, the assignment they offered me before I extended the first time was Presidio of San Francisco.
Oh, my goodness.
And they send like a lieutenant there every other year. There was the engineer company there. People probably don't even know that. But back in
No kidding.
1988, there was an engineer company there, and I could have gone to Presidio, but I turned that down, stayed in Korea. Korea was fantastic. And then when they offer you Leonard Wood or Turkey, by that point I was the S1 of the battalion, and the commander let me stay another 5-6 months till I was promotable to captain. Huh. And then I got to go back straight to the advanced course. I didn't have to go do another assignment. So
what was it about Korea that was intriguing to you? Because you weren't spoiling to get out of there. Was it what did you like about it?
So I was in a combat heavy engineer battalion, which I think life's a little bit easier in combat heavy than the pure combat units. We did field training in the winter, and then we did construction all summer. And I just had the best NCOs, the best commanders that I can ever imagine you having. And like any other job, it's people you work with as much as anything, or your direct supervisor that impact your happiness. And we just had a fantastic unit. My first unit, when I was a platoon leader, we were one engineer company on our own post. So our whole post was us. That was it. So imagine any other, there aren't many units in the Army where you have your own compound for one company.
Yeah, right.
And, which means you and the NCOs we played a lot of poker. No doubt we drank a lot of beer. But it was a great company. And in fact, for the year that I was there, for the most part, the company won what's called the Ishner Award, which is an award given to, quote, the best engineer company in the U.S. Army. So, part of that is packaging, right? But we got to do a bunch of great stuff. That my first year, the large exercise over there was called Team Spirit. You might remember that name.
I do.
And we built an airfield for C-130s and C-141s. If they had C-140, I don't even know they had them back then. But we built an airfield. Took us, 6-8 weeks to build that. And then during the exercise, obviously, we stayed there and we maintained that airfield, worked with the Air Force. We had, about a third of your soldiers are actually Korean conscripts. So, my unit was a mix of Korean soldiers and American soldiers. It was just, it was kind of a work hard, play hard type environment. And, I as a brand new lieutenant, I don't know that you get it any better than that.
Yeah. It's so true, isn't it? When you get an organization that's huge, it really is your experiences, those NCOs and officers you work with day to day, that makes the difference. And a great experience like that company, particularly if it's winning awards like that, you guys have a lot of pride and worked hard. Yeah, good for you.
Yeah. And, the flip side of that is when I got back, I go to the advanced course, then I get stationed. I went to Colorado to Fort Carson. Yeah. And, I'm newly out of the advanced course, and they made me a platoon leader again. That was the only thing that was available. And
as a captain out of the advanced course, you got a platoon.
Well, I was First Lieutenant P, right? Okay. So I wasn't. We weren't pinned on yet, right. And then that unit didn't do anything. It was just boring.
Right.
And that's one of the reasons I ended up getting out when I did, is I was just bored. Of course.
Yeah.
A week before I got out, Saddam invaded Kuwait. And then more or less the only unit that deployed to the Mideast out of Fort Carson was the battalion I was in.
Oh, is that right?
They didn't need the fourth ID, but they needed engineer units.
Yeah. But your
So
paperwork was in, and you were on the way out before
I
they
was
left.
already I was at Stanford, right? And I got out effectively 9 months early or 8 months early. So when I got into Stanford, I reached out, talked to like Barry Scribner, that professor of mine, and the Army was more or less flexible to let people out early. So I got out early. Obviously, Gene Baker did too.
Sure.
Then a lot of people got out, right after that, right after the Gulf War.
Yep. They were encouraging us. If it was the culture at the time, they were encouraging us. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why Stanford? What was that? That's a big throw. Good for you though to get in there out there. What was it that interested you about that program?
California.
Good enough.
It was good enough.
That's good enough. That's good answer. 2 lines under it.
It obviously it's good school and everything, good connections. Yeah. Frankly, I was lucky, right?
Yeah. Well,
that's how life is. Sometimes you get lucky.
And how did you find the program there? So you were coming right out of the Army and dumped right into Stanford. What was that, a bit of a shock, or what was it like transitioning out?
Yeah, I think the hardest part was like changing my language, because you coming out of the Army, you cursed. At least I've in retrospect, I think I cursed a lot, and I had to learn to not do that as much. But no, I mean it's a great environment. No structure basically, other than go to class. Lots of smart people, lots of interesting people. Just entirely different.
In a beautiful area, certainly, right?
Yeah.
Beautiful area.
Yeah. I lived in Mountain View. I just rode my bike to school. When I went to school, we golfed. We had Wednesdays off, and you'd golf like half the Wednesdays. It was like $8 to golf. On Stanford's golf course, which is a wonderful golf course. So, it was a good experience. Sometimes I wish I'd have stayed in the Army, but I met my wife. My wife's a first cousin of one of my classmates from Stanford, and that's how I met my wife. So, if I hadn't gotten out of the Army and gone to Stanford, then I wouldn't have the wife or the 3 kids. I might have other kids,
right.
but
absolutely,
you can't. It's I don't have any regrets about how things transpired.
Yeah, absolutely. How do you think about the fact you went to West Point, and then as prestigious, you went to Stanford Business School, in terms of kind of affiliation, or just what are your thoughts about it, or do you not think about it at all? Or I'm always curious because some people kind of wear their Michigan sweatshirts with they went to graduate school in Michigan versus their West Point stuff. Or how do you think about it?
I don't wear a lot. Maybe back when I first got out, I wore Stanford stuff, but I don't follow Stanford sports. I don't. Okay. I don't really kind of. I have a lot of friends from Stanford, and it's helped me from a networking perspective. It's helped more than West Point has professionally.
Sure.
But part of that is the business lines that I've been in versus maybe the business lines that most West Pointers go into, are somewhat different. So like networking wise, it's was more helpful, but I also would trust West Point people over Stanford people any day.
That's probably a good way of thinking. Having worked with many Stanford people in my day.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm with you on that one.
Not good or bad.
To our Stanford graduates out there.
Yeah, not that they're anybody's untrustworthy or corrupt or anything, but I do think we're West Pointers tend to be a level more trustworthy.
Sure. Sure. And so the business school has it it's a program you come out of, but did you specialize in anything there, or because you went into finance after that? So what was it? Obviously, you
Yeah,
came
I
from an
mean, I,
economics
I took a lot of
background, or
finance,
okay,
but I think my career kind of, at least the first 10 years, kind of waved around until I got into payments, which is really what I've done most of my career.
yeah,
So when I say payments, I mean kind of payment processing systems and businesses. So I worked at Visa. I worked for a large processor. Most of the last 15 years, I've done either work with PE or private equity firms investing in some form of the payment system, or utilizing payments to augment the economics of software businesses, which has been a
yeah,
huge boom really the last 15 years, and that's where I've spent a lot of my time.
absolutely,
The
absolutely,
and again, it they're financial services businesses, but they're really, they're technology and business process, and like any other business, you win or lose by sales and marketing. So you know, I wouldn't say my career has been truly, like, it's not really a true banking kind of business like a investment bank would be.
And what lane did you find as your specialty? Obviously, in the payment business as a whole, there's many different specialties. What was your specialty?
Yeah, I think, well, the economics of the businesses as much as anything, and
Okay.
how to optimize the economics of these various businesses. Somewhat the technology,
Mm-hmm.
somewhat kind of the rules and mechanics. A lot of what I do today is I do expert witness work. So now that I'm quasi-retired, I involved helping people in different litigations, and it's usually about the economics and or rules of the payments businesses.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's financial related, but really a different angle than true banking.
Yeah, right. Particularly with all the continued development of technology and embedding these payment systems in there. Super
Yeah,
interesting. So
yeah.
you said you had the two older sons, and how did the family situation change and develop over time? Like, where did you live in during all this after you got out of
Oh,
school?
so well, the first 8 years after Stanford, I was in Chicago,
Yep.
and then I took a job at Visa, moved back to California.
Okay.
Right about that time, I also met my wife, and we got married in '01. And my older two boys were born, because see, '01, I was 37, right, when I got married, or almost, I was 36 in 11 months. And then we had the first two boys pretty soon thereafter out in California. We
Uh-huh.
got married like 3.5 weeks after or before 9/11.
Yeah.
So,
There you go.
and in fact,
An exciting time.
yeah, I actually tried to get back in I don't know if it was the reserves or guard, I can't remember, but I got like 90% of the way through the paperwork, and then my wife got pregnant,
Ah,
and she was like, "Yeah, I don't really want you to go back in the army." So I didn't do that. Which
didn't
in
pursue it.
some ways, you could have got stuck for years. The people who did get back in ended up, doing a number of rotations, I suppose.
Yeah, yeah. You hear their stories. They went in thinking it was going to be a contribution of a certain amount, and years later they were going on pretty significant rotations, particularly in logistics or probably some of the areas you might have been
Yeah,
directed.
and the
Yeah,
engineers, I think I've got a cousin who was an A-10 pilot, or he's retired now, but
yeah, yeah.
he had gotten laid off. He had gotten out, worked for United, actually flew one of the routes that got hijacked the day before, and then he was back in the Air Force because United laid him off. And he needed he needed money, and he ended up doing like 6 tours between the Balkans, Iraq, and Afghanistan. And he got shot down over Baghdad. So he's one of the A-10s that got shot down. I think like the third ID picked him up outside of Baghdad.
Good gravy. Yeah.
But
the A-10 pilots are a popular, popular specialty.
Yeah.
So.
Well, yeah, they used the hell out of
the rest of us were.
Both Iraq and Afghanistan. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's and so which part of California were you in, the north or the south?
Yeah, it's Visa's in the Bay Area, so we were in San Mateo. I don't know if you spent much. Bay Area is fantastic. We loved it. And then I got recruited to go to a payments business in Cincinnati. So we were in California about 5 years, and then Cincinnati about 8 years, or 7.5, something like that. And then obviously we moved here. So the older boys were born in California and the little guy was born in Cincinnati.
Okay. And what took your wife out to California from Minnesota? Because she said her family's there, obviously.
Yeah, we had met when we met. I was still in Chicago.
Okay, gotcha.
So she's a cousin of one of my Stanford classmates. We met at that classmate's wedding here in Minnesota.
Got it.
And then we dated long distance.
Yeah.
Before we got married and bought a house in California, and there you are.
There you go. And eventually she steered it back to Minnesota. Good for her.
Yeah.
Good
and
for her.
Apparently this is, they didn't tell me that when I said I do, that I was going to have to live back here, but apparently it's pretty common.
Absolutely.
In fact, Marco, do you know Marco Nikituk?
I know Marco through Facebook, and I had him on. He was on the Glee Club recording, so I know Marco that way. Yeah.
So he went to high school where my older boys went. So he's probably the last guy from that private school to go to West Point, because that school doesn't send anybody to military academies anymore.
Right?
Yeah, because it's too far.
Well, Marco had that big of an impact on him.
He did. I think he was a hockey player, right? So hockey here in Minnesota is pretty important.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And so you're so what, like at the payments company, what was the type of role you did there? Because you said you were the expert on the economics. Were you?
I mean, I managed pricing. I managed product.
Product, so like a product side of it,
Yeah, kind of all the above. A little bit of strategy work, and then for a little while, from 2019 to 2023, I ran a payments business within a software company that one of my private equity clients owned. So that's really the last time I've kind of been. So in 2023, I was I was spending 90% of my time with a single business.
Right.
Since then, it's all, consulting or expert witness work. And today I probably work 10 to 20 hours a week.
How do you get in the expert witness ecosystem? How does that work? You're our first expert witness, I believe, although I think Jack Callahan does some expert witness stuff. But how does that work?
Someone recommended me back in like 2017 for a case, and it's weird. It's like they won't hire you unless you've done it before.
Right.
But how do you ever start then? So I got lucky to do a case then, and for example, right now I have three active cases I'm working on. I have a trial in May on one of them, and I probably do 2 to 4 of these a year where I'm working on them, and it's I really like it because it keeps you. You have to stay up to date on what's going on in your industry.
Sure.
You have to be able to write, which obviously I have people who help me write because I'm not that great. and then it's, people, presentation skills. I've got a background that, is helpful for it. It's encompassing enough and detailed enough to, qualify me as an expert in the kinds of cases that I work on. So
sure, there has to be a certain utility to what you do for everyone involved, so that you are welcomed into that role. Otherwise, it's very inefficient for them to get someone who's just an expert but doesn't get like what they need, if that makes sense, right? So I get it. And so you like the research and keeping it. How do you keep up to date? Everything's moving so quickly, particularly in the payment world. And,
there's a lot of things that I'm able to read and learn about. And I still do a fair enough consulting on these kind of business matters that I have to kind of know what's going on. And, quite frankly, a lot of my visa experience tends to be relevant in these cases.
Right. Even after all these
years,
These years it's
they're for the most part, they're not hiring people who are working in a business. They can't hire somebody who works at Visa or MasterCard, etc.
Right.
They need people who are independent enough, yet still have the relevant real-time experience in the business to know what's going on.
So you're in this perfect pivot point of you've got your fingers in it enough that you're up to date, but you can still have time to give them what they need. So
well, and quite frankly, time for me to do what I want to do, which is not work all the time. I like to golf, travel, go to the gym, and I can do that. Sometimes it's, I'll have this trial in May. I'll probably have to be there like 10 days in a row.
Right.
So, that's not ideal, but, it's in Delaware. I'll probably, and I have a board meeting right before it in Philadelphia. So I'll do the board meeting. I'll do the trial. I'll probably bring my golf clubs. And Gary Piercy used to live here in Minneapolis. I don't know if you remember Gary.
I do remember Gary.
But he lives back in Delaware now. So I'll give him a ring and hopefully get a golf game or two with him while I'm out east.
There you go. That's the way to do it. Well, I'll have a resource for you real soon. You can look up people by the metro area, then find out who likes to golf in that metro area.
That's a good idea. I'm sure there are probably plenty of people in Philly.
Right.
I can't think of anybody off the top of my head.
I'll give them to you. I'm mapping all that out because I think it is interesting. You're going to go to a town, you like, the theater, like who likes theater in Cincinnati? Well, maybe there's someone there from the class.
Yeah. I was texting with Jerry O'Connor the other day because Jerry's now going to he's from Minnesota originally. He's going to spend the summers up here from now on, I guess.
Okay.
And so I wasn't sure when he's coming up, but next week do you know who General Votel is or was?
I don't know.
He was the CENTCOM commander, and before that, the SOCOM commander. And he lives, pretty close to where I live. So I'm taking him golfing next week.
There you go.
So he retired from the Army and first time ever took up golf the last few years. So and now he likes.
And is there an active West Point society up there? Do they keep in touch with folks, or how does that work?
Yeah, it's moderate. So I'm the treasurer of the society. We just had our Founders Day. We got about 60 people. Probably 30 of them were grads for Founders Day. So
that's a good group.
Not huge.
That's a good group. That's a good group.
Yeah. And there's a guy who lives pretty close to me that is 02 who was teaching at West Point. Now he's teaching here. He was a math P. that I do some stuff with. And then there's a couple that are class of 1990 who live half a mile from my house that I do some stuff with.
Okay, yeah. So you keep in loose touch with the network there, and you're involved with the society. That's
Yeah,
great.
but we honestly, and it's too bad, we probably ought to do more from the society perspective. Lately, all we've done the last couple of years is put on the Founders Day. We don't do
Yeah.
it.
You know,
And we don't have, unlike some states, we don't have any military presence really in Minnesota. So it's not the kind of state where a lot of, for obvious reasons, people don't retire here. I mean, it's got high taxes and it's cold. So most people who are retiring out of the military retire other places.
Right. So you get these very active societies in retirement areas because everyone's moving to Charlotte, for example, or moving to
I assume so. I'm making an assumption because I haven't lived in one of those areas, but
I live in one, and I tell you that's what it is. That people retire down here, and you get class of kind of 85 all the way and older. There's just a lot of folks here, but right, you're where you're at is more like Denver, where I base a lot of the time, and so it's harder there because people are living their lives, they're working, they're doing whatever.
There are a lot of young grads. Not a lot. Yeah. There are quite a few young grads here.
Yeah.
20. I guess the youngest grad we had was 2017 at our Founders Day.
Yeah, well, that's good though. Well, good for you for keeping in touch with folks. And then, so you got a lot of family connections there, and and of course, you still have 4 years of high school to chew through with your youngest there. You think you'll stay in the area, or what are your general thoughts? Because you're early in the process. There's no.
I mean, there's no way we'd move permanently or like full time away from here. My wife's would never do that. But I would like to have a tax domicile somewhere else. So
yeah, sure.
I like. I don't know about you, but I like Fort Lauderdale and north of that area. I've got family down there. We'll just have to play it by ear as the next couple of years.
Here's the good news, right? In the next 4 years, you do CNQ B&B, right? You got so many of us all along the coast and all these places. You can find a free bedroom and bring your golf clubs. Like I'm in Myrtle Beach right now. Shoot, you come down and check it out. It'd be very inexpensive. Not quite a tax haven, but hey, close enough. You come down. But you go down to Fort Lauderdale.
The Carolinas and Georgia are better than Minnesota. I don't. Have you spent any time at Sea Island, Georgia? That's really nice.
I have not.
I spent a lot of time down there.
There's lots of extra bedrooms, and folks will golf with you all down in here, so you can take exploratory trips to your heart's content. And I know there's several.
It's not me that's the gating factor. It's what my wife wants to do, right?
It always is. That's great. Yeah. Oh, that's terrific. And then, any traveling? Or are you pretty head down with your trial work, or you like getting out and?
No, I mean I always go. One thing about it, if you live in Minnesota, you got to get away in the winter. So I always go to Florida or elsewhere. I had my second knee replacement in January, so I didn't do anything till March.
Right.
But I've got, I guess this. I'll be out in Philly the end of this month. I'll be at West Point for the Johnny Mac, and then I'm going golfing in Pinehurst in June. Then I think we're going to go to Croatia and Italy in the summer. So it's the next few months.
Yeah, getting around a little bit. Good for you. That's great. And you get a little bit of flexibility with the type of work you do, which is super helpful.
Yeah, you can do it from anywhere. And now the youngest is old enough that we can leave for a while without him. It's hard to do a ton. I did 2 weeks last September in England golfing, and that felt like a long. When I was like, that's just too long to be away.
Right.
When you don't have your family with you. If you have your family with you, it's fine. But
you gotta watch that golf. It might develop into a serious habit.
Too bad I stink. I'm not getting any better, but I'm trying.
Well, there you go.
Trying.
Well, I mean, you got a lot of classmates and friends and folks from Stanford who love the sport. So there's no end to the opportunities that you have. John Landgraf was saying he got to play Pebble Beach, and that was one of the crowning achievements of his vacation life. He was able to go out there and get a spot at Pebble Beach. So there's a whole group of folks that you can run around with.
Yeah, Pebble's pretty neat.
Yeah. Well, is there any story or thing that we haven't covered that would be interesting for classmates to catch up with you on?
I can't think of anything off the top of my head. I think I'm just getting old. I can't remember as many things about school as I used to. But yeah, look, I've been lucky. Korea was fantastic, and I've got a good wife, good kids. They're all smart, and knock on wood, my health's good. So
that's the most important thing. There you go.
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously you've seen. It feels like every few weeks we're having somebody pass away, and that makes you think about your own mortality when you start seeing your peers, one or two of them pass away. So
yeah, absolutely. But you're looking fit and in good health, and we're glad of that. So that's good news there.
Little fat, but I'm trying.
It's the gravity that gets you, right? It just keeps.
Must be a lot of gravity in Minnesota. That must be a lot of gravity. We have higher gravity here.
That darn dry cleaner keeps shrinking my clothes. I don't know what's going on with that. So anyway, I find every excuse in the world. So.
Well, we need a little more fat here because it's awfully cold.
You do. You have a justification that beats everyone, right? Those of us down in South Carolina. You
can't see out the window, but across the street is the Mississippi, and there's a running path, and we have 3 colleges right around here, and every night, if it's warm like tonight, it's decent out. There'll be hundreds of people out running and biking, and so that motivates you to get out there and at least do something. So absolutely,
and that's it is a motivator, right? Just to be in an environment like that, and that's an advantage, particularly as we gracefully age. Motion is what matters. Keeping moving and keeping things going keeps us as healthy as we can be. So.
Thanks.
Pat, great catching up with you. Thanks so much. I'm sure classmates are going to love hearing your story, and hopefully we'll see you at the reunion.
You'll see me there. I look forward to it.
Good stuff. All right, brother. We'll talk to you soon.
Have a great evening.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Courage Never Quits podcast, where any member of the class of 1986 who is willing to tell their story will be a guest. To get the word out and stay up to date on the latest episodes, hit the like and subscribe button. With over 900 living graduates, we have a lot of stories to tell, and you don't want to miss any of them. We'll see you in the next episode.